point live on air. What unfolded on The View was nothing short of dramatic. And it all began the moment Joy Behar stepped into territory that probably should have been left alone. The fallout from this clash has become a topic of heated conversation everywhere. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why Keanu Reeves, a man known for staying composed under pressure, reached his limit on national television. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below because this story is about to get intense. That day began like any normal episode of The View. The familiar intro music played, the crowd applauded, and the hosts took their places at the well-known round table. Joy Behar, as always, had her quick wit and bold opinions ready to go. What she didn't see coming was that her guest, Keanu Reeves, would be the one person who wouldn't just smile and nod. Keanu walked onto the stage with his usual calm and collected energy, dressed in a simple black suit and wearing that warm smile that's endeared him to millions around the world. The crowd erupted in cheers as he made his way to the guest seat, giving a humble wave and sitting down with the ease of someone who's done this many times before. "Welcome to The View, Keanu," Whoopi Goldberg greeted warmly once the applause died down. "We're so happy to have you. Thank you for inviting me," Keanu responded sincerely, his tone soft and respectful. "It's great to be here with all of you." The conversation started off smoothly. They chatted about his newest movie, his love for motorcycles, and the many stories of his kindness that have become internet lore. Keanu responded to each question with calm reflection and sincerity, never sounding like he was trying to brag or push his brand too hard. But something was off. Joy Behar had been strangely quiet during those first few minutes. And anyone familiar with her style knew that silence usually meant she was holding something back, waiting for just the right moment to stir things up. She sat watching him, tapping her pen against her notes, eyes sharp, waiting to strike. "You know, Keanu," Joy suddenly cut in, interrupting a story he was telling about mentoring younger actors. "There's something I've been meaning to ask." The mood in the studio shifted instantly. The co-hosts glanced at one another. Keanu turned fully to Joy, his expression still calm, but now focused. "Of course," he replied with poise. "What would you like to ask?" Joy leaned in, flashing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You've built this whole reputation around being the nice guy, the humble actor who gives away millions and helps strangers out of nowhere. But I have to ask, is it real? Or is it just the most successful PR stunt in Hollywood?" The room went completely quiet. Even the studio audience stopped reacting. This wasn't a typical question for a guest on The View, especially not for someone as universally respected as Keanu Reeves. His expression barely changed, but for those who knew him well, the subtle signs were there, a slight shift in his posture, a flicker of tension near his eyes. "I'm sorry," he said in a low voice. "Could you clarify what you mean?" Joy didn't pull back. If anything, the tension seemed to excite her. "Come on, Keanu," she pushed. "You expect people to believe that a rich Hollywood star is really that selfless? That all these good deeds just come from the heart? That your whole modest personality isn't part of a carefully crafted image?" The other hosts looked more and more uncomfortable. Whoopi cleared her throat, possibly looking to redirect things, but Joy wasn't done. "Let's be honest," she continued, her tone sharper now. "Regular people don't have cameras following them when they help someone on the street. They don't end up going viral every time they do something kind. So forgive me for being a little doubtful of this Saint Keanu narrative." Keanu sat there for a moment, clearly thinking through his response. When he finally spoke, his voice was still composed, but there was a noticeable shift. "Joy," he said, "I get that questioning things is part of your job. But I think you're stepping into something that's more than just critical. It feels unnecessarily harsh." "Harsh?" Joy laughed, a short, sharp sound. "Please. I'm asking real questions, the kind reporters are supposed to ask. You want to talk about cruelty?" Cruel is using people's emotions just to boost your image. Cruel is pretending to be someone you're not just to sell movie tickets. And that's when something in Keanu's eyes shifted. The man known for staying calm in the face of loss and heartbreak, someone who had handled life's tragedies with grace and silence, was now nearing his breaking point. His voice, still low but firm, cut through the room. "You want to talk about manipulation, Joy?" he said. "Let's talk about that." The studio froze. These were words no one expected from Keanu Reeves. He looked straight at Joy, his eyes sharp with purpose. "You sit here every day," he said, his voice growing stronger, "tearing people down like it's entertainment. You take real acts of kindness, real attempts to do something good, and twist them into something suspicious. Why? Because it gets more attention? Because it boosts ratings, right?" Joy's smile wavered a bit, but she didn't back off. "I'm a journalist, Keanu. I ask hard questions. If that bothers you, maybe interviews aren't your thing." "Hard questions?" Keanu leaned in, his voice no longer calm, it had an edge now. "Then ask about the work. Ask about the story, the art, the process. But don't you dare question whether my grief is real. Don't question if my choice to help people comes from a place of truth." He paused, and the room felt like it held its breath. "Don't stand there and suggest that losing my best friend, my daughter, or my sister somehow turned me into a better actor instead of a better person." The table went still. Even Joy seemed momentarily shocked by the mention of his personal tragedies. But she quickly gathered herself, pushing back with more defensiveness than before. "Now you're being overly emotional," she shot back. "I never brought up your personal losses. I'm talking about your image, your brand. That's not the same thing." But Keanu didn't accept that distinction. His voice rose for the first time, not in anger, but with power. "It's not different, Joy. When you go after someone's reputation, their kindness, their compassion, you are attacking the person. When you say someone's goodness is fake, you're not just criticizing their public image. You're calling their character a lie." Sonny Hostin tried to step in, attempting to cool things down. "Maybe we should." "No." Keanu cut her off, not looking away from Joy. "Let her finish. She clearly has more thoughts on my so-called manipulation." He kept his eyes fixed on Joy. "Go ahead. Tell us how changing a flat tire for someone on the side of the road is a publicity stunt. How giving my Matrix salary to crew members was just business strategy. How quietly paying for cancer treatment for a friend was part of some master plan." Joy's face turned red, her voice rising with frustration. "See? That's what I'm talking about. You've got a whole list prepared. You know exactly which good deeds to talk about when someone questions you. That's not kindness, that's PR." There was a murmur from the audience. Some shifted uncomfortably. Others looked stunned. But Keanu stayed focused. "You want to talk about PR?" he asked. Then, without warning, he stood up. The sudden movement caught everyone off guard. "Crisis management," he said, looking down at her now, "is what happens when someone like you gets called out for being mean on national television, and instead of reflecting, you double down." "I'm not being mean," Joy insisted, though her voice now wavered. "I'm just being honest." "Honest?" Keanu let out a laugh, short, cold, and nothing like his usual warm tone. "You want honesty? Fine. You're not a journalist. Journalists look for the truth. You chase outrage. You're not trying to help people understand. You're trying to get a reaction, because that reaction turns into money. The more upset people get, the more they tune in." Whoopi Goldberg tried again to intervene. "Keanu, maybe we can—" "No, Whoopi," he said, cutting her off politely but firmly. "With respect, I'm not done." He turned back to Joy, who was clearly unsettled now. "You want to question my intentions? Then let's look at yours. How much of your paycheck is tied to drama? How much of your career depends on attacking people who don't hit back? And when someone finally does push back, you hide behind the word journalist like it gives you the right to say anything. Joy was gripping her pen tightly now, her knuckles white, her face flushed. "How dare you lecture me about journalism?" she snapped. "You're an actor. You pretend for a living. And you pretend to be a decent human being." Keanu responded without a pause. "At least I'm honest that I'm pretending." The entire room fell into complete silence. The cameras were still running, but no one moved. The intensity in the room was impossible to ignore. This wasn't the version of Keanu Reeves people were used to seeing. But it was clear, this was the version that had finally been pushed too far. Joy tried to pull the moment back under her control. "You know what, Keanu? You're proving my point exactly. The mask is slipping, isn't it? This is the real you, not so calm and sweet after all." That's when Keanu's voice dropped, not louder but lower. And somehow, that quiet tone carried more force than if he had shouted. "The real me, Joy, is someone who's had to bury more loved ones than any person should. The real me is someone who wakes up every single day and still chooses to try and make the world a little better instead of worse. Someone who believes in kindness. Who believes in helping. Who believes that respect matters." His voice remained steady, but the weight behind it was undeniable. "And the real you," he continued, staring directly at Joy, "is someone who just spent 10 minutes trying to convince millions of viewers that kindness isn't real. That compassion must always be a trick. That anyone doing something decent must have a hidden plan." Joy looked stunned for a moment, her mouth slightly open, no words coming out. The woman known for always having a response now had nothing to say. But Keanu wasn't done. After years of staying quiet, of taking the high road while others made snide comments or questioned his motives, something had snapped. "You know what's really sad here, Joy?" he said, his voice still controlled but sharp as a knife. "You could use your position for something meaningful. You could use your voice to lift people up, to ask questions that matter, to help others understand the world better. But instead you choose to tear people down." He didn't raise his voice, but the intensity in his eyes said everything. "You choose to be a bully. And not just any bully, a bully with a microphone and an audience of millions." Joy finally found her voice, but it was shakier than before. "I am not a bully," she protested. "I ask the tough questions. If someone can't take the heat, stop," Keanu said, cutting her off with just one word. Quiet but firm. It landed like a gavel hitting the table. "Just stop." He let the silence settle before continuing. "You've said enough. Honestly, you said enough 5 minutes ago, but you kept pushing, because that's what you do. You don't know when to stop. You don't see the difference between being a journalist and being cruel. You cross that line again and again, thinking it's just part of the job." Sonny Hostin made another effort to calm things down. "Maybe we should cut to a break." "No," Keanu replied, his gaze locked onto Joy. "We're going to finish this now. Because the people watching deserve to see what it looks like when someone finally stands up to the schoolyard bully." Joy's temper returned, and she raised her voice. "Schoolyard bully? Are you serious? I'm doing my job. I'm holding celebrities accountable. I'm asking the questions no one else is brave enough to ask." "Whose questions, Joy?" Keanu countered, his voice rising with passion. "Who exactly is asking you to challenge whether kindness exists? Who's demanding that you go after people who are just trying to do good?" He didn't wait for her to answer. "I'll tell you who's not asking, the people who were helped. The crew members who paid their rent because I shared my paycheck. The cancer patients who got treatments because someone cared enough to step in. The strangers who made it home safely because I stopped to help. They're not asking you to question whether the help was real." Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Keanu didn't give her the chance. "The public has a right to know," she tried to argue. "The public has a right to the truth." Keanu interrupted again. "Not your version of it, not your twisted, bitter take on it. The public deserves facts, not commentary disguised as reporting. They deserve to see something good happen in the world without being told it's fake the moment it airs. Around the table, the other co-hosts exchanged looks, some uneasy, others seemingly unsure whether to step in or stay silent. It was clear to everyone in the room that something extraordinary was happening, something no one could stop. Joy made one more push to regain control. You know what I think, Keanu? I think you're having this emotional breakdown right now because you know I'm right. You're mad because I saw through your act, and you can't stand being called out. And that was the breaking point. Keanu, the man who had spent decades enduring loss, staying quiet, never causing a stir, finally let go. An act? He said, his voice suddenly loud enough to echo through the studio, making more than a few people jump in their seats. You want to talk about being exposed? Fine. Let's talk about what you've shown everyone here today. He pointed at her with quiet force. You've shown us that you are so bitter, so hollow, so unwilling to believe that good things exist in this world, that you feel the need to tear down anyone who proves you wrong. Joy tried to butt in, but Keanu pressed on, refusing to give her space to escape. No. You've had your turn. Your time to throw punches, to insult, to dig. Now it's my turn. His voice, though intense, never lost control. It felt like a fire carefully aimed. You've shown everyone watching that you confuse cruelty for bravery, that you think being mean makes you powerful, that tearing others down somehow lifts you up. But all you've done today is show just how empty that kind of thinking really is. The energy in the room shifted again. No one dared speak. No one moved. Everyone, co-hosts, crew, audience, was frozen in the moment. This wasn't just a heated argument on daytime TV. It was something much bigger. And do you know what else you've shown, Joy? Keanu continued, lowering his voice again, and somehow that made it all the more powerful. You've revealed exactly the kind of person who makes kind people want to stop being kind. You're the voice people hear in their head when they hesitate to help a stranger, worried someone like you will say it's just for show. You're the reason people question whether doing something good is even worth it, because someone like you will come along and tear it down. Joy looked rattled now, clearly shaken. Still, she tried one last time to shift the narrative. Oh, this is rich, she said, forcing a chuckle. You're having a meltdown on live TV. And we're supposed to believe this is the real Keanu Reeves? The calm, gentle soul everyone thinks you are? Keanu stood fully now, towering over the table. His posture was steady, his tone clear and strong, but his anger hadn't faded. You're absolutely right, Joy, he said. This is the real me. This is the man who tries every single day to be kind, to help, to lift others up, and who finally had enough of someone trying to convince the world that none of it is real. This is the man who's lost almost everyone he's ever loved, and still chooses love. Who's been knocked down more times than he can count, and still gets back up to keep helping others. And yes, this is the man who finally got angry when faced with someone who seems committed to tearing others down. He looked around at the rest of the hosts, then back at Joy, who now sat quietly, clearly feeling the weight of everything he just said. You wanted the real me, Joy? He asked. Here I am. I'm someone who believes this world already has too many people hurting each other. What it needs is more people lifting each other up. When you have a platform like this, when people are listening, you have a choice. You can use that power to do good. Or you can do exactly what you've done today, use it to judge, to accuse, to chip away at the people who are trying to make a difference. The silence in the room stretched. Joy opened her mouth more than once to speak, but no words came. The other co-hosts remained frozen, unsure how to move forward. No one dared to interrupt. Finally, Keanu reached for his jacket, still draped over the back of his chair. I think I'm done here, he said softly. Thank you for having me on the show. I hope the audience takes something meaningful from all of this, even if it wasn't what any of us expected. He began walking toward the edge of the set. Then he paused, turned back, and looked directly at Joy one last time. "And Joy," he said quietly, "I truly hope that one day you find whatever it is you're searching for by trying to bring people down. Because from where I'm standing, it doesn't look like it's bringing you much peace." With that, Keanu walked off stage. The studio stayed silent. Cameras continued rolling, catching Joy Behar sitting still at the table, speechless. The woman known for always having a comeback now completely silent. The man she had tried to expose had instead exposed something far more uncomfortable: the truth about how she approached the world. What do you think about this unforgettable exchange? Was Joy Behar out of line, or just doing her job? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. Which celebrity clash should we cover next?